What if I told you that one of the most infamous real-life monsters in American history is about to return to our screens in a way so raw, so terrifying, that even the trailer has left people shaken? Yes, Netflix has just dropped the official trailer for Monster, the Ed Gein story, and it's unlike anything we've seen in the franchise so far. Charlie Hunnam, who most audiences know from Sons of Anarchy, completely transforms into the notorious killer often referred to as the Butcher of Plainfield. And judging from the footage, he doesn't just play Ed Gein. He becomes him, down to the smallest mannerism, the chilling voice, and the disturbing rituals that have haunted pop culture for decades. The trailer opens in almost complete silence, with a shot of a small, unassuming farmhouse in Wisconsin. At first glance, it looks like any rural home, the kind you might drive by without ever noticing. But as the camera slowly pushes in, a dark score begins to build, and suddenly the sense of dread hits. We hear muffled police radio chatter, flashes of officers standing frozen on a porch, hesitant to step inside. A voiceover reminds us, what they found inside would change the face of horror forever. And then the door creaks open, revealing only shadows and the flicker of a flashlight. That's when the nightmare begins. The footage cuts quickly to investigators, their faces twisted in shock and nausea as they uncover the grotesque trophies Gein had collected. Lampshades made of human skin, skulls turned into household objects, and preserved body parts hidden in corners. You can almost feel their revulsion, the way they're barely able to keep looking, yet unable to turn away. The sound design intensifies the moment, with gasps, whispers, and heavy breathing, forcing us as viewers to imagine the unimaginable. And then the trailer introduces Hunnam as Gein. He doesn't storm onto the screen, he creeps in. His posture is slouched, his eyes dart nervously yet deliberately, and his voice, soft and unsettling, sends chills. We hear him muttering about his mother, played by the brilliant Laurie Metcalf. She's still here, he whispers in one scene, his lips trembling as if caught between prayer and madness. The trailer lingers on this relationship, hinting at the disturbing psychological control Gein's mother had over him, even long after her death. One of the most haunting sequences shows Gein standing in his dimly lit kitchen, sewing together pieces of skin with eerie precision. The camera doesn't show everything explicitly, but the implication is far more horrifying than gore alone. We see close-ups of his hands, shaking yet steady, as though this grotesque act has become ritualistic. In another chilling shot, he pulls a mask over his face, made from human skin, and begins to twirl, almost dance, in the shadows of his living room. It's grotesque, it's surreal, and it's exactly the kind of scene that defines the Monster Anthology's ability to force viewers into the darkest corners of history. Charlie Hunnam has spoken about the lengths he went to in order to transform into Ed Gein, studying not just the details of Gein's crimes but also his strange quirks, his shy demeanor, and the contradictions in his personality. In the trailer, you can hear the distinct cadence of his voice shift into something childlike, almost innocent, which makes the horrors he commits even more terrifying. One moment he's quietly mumbling about his mother's disapproval, and the next he's brutally attacking his victims, driven by impulses he can't control. The contrast is harrowing. Laurie Metcalf's portrayal of Augusta Gein, Ed's domineering mother, is equally terrifying. In one scene, we see her looming over a young Ed, her voice sharp and condemning, telling him that women are evil and sinful. The trailer cleverly intertwines these flashbacks with scenes of adult Ed carrying out his crimes, making it clear how her influence poisoned his mind and fueled his obsession. The dialogue is chilling. "You'll never leave me, Edward," she hisses, her face lit by a dim lantern. Even after her death, her presence haunts him, as if she's embedded in every corner of his decaying farmhouse. The trailer also teases how Gein's crimes inspired some of the greatest horror films of all time. At one point, Tom Hollander appears as Alfred Hitchcock, scribbling notes and staring with fascination at news clippings of the murders. His inclusion suggests the series will explore not only the crimes themselves but also their cultural aftershocks, how the darkness of one man seeped into Hollywood, shaping the very DNA of horror cinema. From Psycho to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and The Silence of the Lambs, the echoes of Gein's crimes are everywhere. Seeing Hitchcock on-screen hints at how this season will connect the real monster to the fictional ones we've feared for decades. Other cast members flash across the trailer, including Susanna Sun and Vicky Creeps, each caught in tense moments of confrontation with Gein. There are glimpses of frightened neighbors whispering about his odd behavior, law enforcement struggling to piece together the scope of his depravity, and terrified victims caught in his web. The editing is fast, sharp, and deliberately disorienting, pulling us into Gein's fractured psyche. What sets this trailer apart from previous monster seasons is how unapologetically it leans into the surreal nightmare of Gein's world. While the Dahmer story focused on the human tragedies of his victims and the failures of the system, and the Menendez season explored the twisted dynamics of a wealthy family, the Ed Gein story appears to dive headfirst into the sheer madness of a man whose crimes were almost too grotesque to believe. There's no glamour, no sensationalism, just a suffocating descent into isolation, psychosis, and obsession. The log line of the series makes it clear. Gein was driven by his isolation, his psychosis, and his all-consuming devotion to his mother. And the trailer brings that to life in unnerving detail. We see him sitting at the dinner table, speaking to an empty chair as though Augusta were still sitting across from him. We see him clutching her Bible, tears streaming down his face as he begs for forgiveness, only to immediately return to his violent compulsions. These moments reveal not only his crimes but the fractured psyche that birthed them. The craftsmanship of the trailer deserves attention too. The cinematography uses muted, washed-out tones, making the world look drained of life, as if the very soil of Plainfield had been poisoned by Gein's presence. The score is sharp, filled with discordant strings and haunting whispers, building an atmosphere that feels like it could collapse at any second. Every frame is designed to make the viewer feel uneasy, to trap us in Gein's nightmare. Charlie Hunnam's performance is at the center of it all. Known for his rugged, charismatic roles, Hunnam strips all of that away here. He's almost unrecognizable, gaunt, awkward, and terrifyingly human. He doesn't play Gein as a movie villain but as a man consumed by his delusions, which makes it all the more disturbing. When he puts on one of his suits, crafted from human skin, and whispers, "She'll be proud of me now," the line sends shivers straight down your spine. The trailer ends with a haunting shot. Gein standing in the doorway of his farmhouse at night, the moon casting his silhouette across the yard. He's wearing one of his grotesque creations, a mask stitched together from human flesh, and for a moment, he raises his arms like a performer bowing to an audience. The camera slowly zooms in on his face, and just before the screen cuts to black, we hear Laurie Metcalf's voice whisper, "Edward, you'll never be free of me." The sound of her words echoes long after the image fades, leaving viewers unsettled and eager to see how the full story unfolds. Monster, the Ed Gein story arrives on Netflix October 3rd, with all episodes releasing at once. It marks the third installment in Ryan Murphy and Ian Brennan's true crime horror anthology, following the global phenomenon of the Jeffrey Dahmer season and the Menendez brothers story. But judging by the trailer, this season might be the darkest yet. An unflinching look at the man whose crimes gave birth to modern horror as we know it. With a cast led by Charlie Hunnam, Laurie Metcalf, and Tom Hollander, and with the creative team once again pushing boundaries, this promises to be a season that audiences won't soon forget. So prepare yourself, because Monster, the Ed Gein story, is not just a show about a killer. It's about the roots of fear itself, and the horrifying truth that sometimes the scariest monsters are not the ones we invent, but the ones who actually walked among us.